And we are live. Welcome to MLB Early Live Before Lock, MLB Strategy Show. We can call it whatever we want. We got a 6-gamer kicking off, I guess, pitching off. What's the right? There's a term that's not hitting me. Obviously, kickoff for football. I don't know. I don't know. Pitching off at 1 a.m. It doesn't matter. 1 p.m. lock. 6 games, early slate. I know it's Thursday. I know there's Thursday night football today, but the baseball streets are here, and we've got a very unique slate to try to break down before we get to noon. We got an hour to cover it. MLB Live Before Lock later tonight. NFL Live Before Lock later tonight for Thursday night football. We're already on to week 3 of the NFL. There is infinite content for you to check out at Stokastic, Odd Shopper, Tails, whatever you're looking for today. Baseball, football, bets, DFS, pick'em. We cover all of it throughout the day. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you're following anything and everything involved with Stokastic, whether it's our Stokastic Twitter accounts, Odd Shopper Twitter accounts, Tails Twitter accounts, me, Laffy, Ben, Greg, Eric. Don't miss any of it. Emac's going to hit you guys with baseball stuff till the cows come home, man. He wouldn't miss this for the world. But today, I'm breaking down the slate. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and then follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. You can see it on the screen because my guess, you'll spell it wrong. Story of my life. ELMENANGLE. It's a never-ending supply and not right. I should just change my name to just Josh. Right? I could pull that off. If Cher can do it and Bono can do it, Shakira can do it, why can't I do it? I can't think of a better Josh. Josh Jackson, I guess. He probably wins. There aren't too many, though. It's really not that many. I mean, I like Josh Allen, but he's got to win before he matters. What Joshes am I missing? I mean, I know we got to stick together, but I think I'm the best one. There's probably a conversation I should have when I have a co-host. But I feel like a co-host would just take the wind out of my sails. So I'm going to stick with it. There's not a Josh pitching on this main slate. I'd be the best. Okay, but yeah, Morgan, that's a good one. Josh Brolin gets me. Josh Groban doesn't. Josh Groban gets me like 2 days out of the year. The other 363, it's me. Josh Groban, if he's got to sing about like Christmas, probably beats me. There's really not. Let's just do it. Screw it. Before we get started, we're going to look up famous Joshes. All right, Josh Richards. No, although I did love the diss track to Zach Bryan. I don't think I know who Josh Hutcherson is. Josh Allen, fine. I definitely don't know who Josh Dunn is. I like Zerka. I'm a Sidemen guy. Josh Bruckner does not look like an MMA fighter. No shot. Wasn't a Drake and Josh guy. Don't know who Josh Parker. I mean, all right, Dumel's not bad. All right, Josh Wright. I'm a big Ted Mosby guy. It gets pretty thin here, though. Also, Josh Jackson not being here at the top over some of these other idiots. Not going to understand it. These guys are made up people. We're out of real dudes here. Oh, Big Head? Nelson Baguetti? Ooh, Josh Giddey. Let's not, definitely better than him. There's your boy Groban coming in at 37. Anyway, I've taken this down as far as I can go with it. Let's break down the slate. Waylon Jennings, Josh Johnson. I think you're talking about Jack Johnson, who has a different name. way less awesome Joshes, which is kind of weird for the name. Because it's not like this is like some new name. I'm not Jaden or Caden or Braden or whatever people are naming their children now. This is like an old school biblical name. Why aren't there more of me? I don't know. Oh, Morgan. I got to put this up on the screen right now for everybody, just so they know. Don't forget. Person dropping this message knows what's what. He's up like $1 million in DFS over the past 2 months. This is a guy that knows what he's talking about. Morgan Wiper with the message on the screen. Josh Jackson, Fringe is an incredibly underrated show. Boy, you have no idea how much I love that show. I've rewatched it more than once. Made my wife watch it. She loved it. It's just an exceptional television show. Oh, White Tulip. Oh my God. It's like, look, it's too long. It's an artifact of shows that needed 23 episodes per season. That would be a much better show if you can consolidate. You could probably cut half of it out and it wouldn't be all that relevant. But shout out to Peter Bishop. Shout out to Walter Bishop, one of the greatest characters on a television show ever. And Anna Torv, man. Smoke show. Smoke show. All right, let's get into it. Baseball slate, 6 games. We lock at 1 o'clock. And we have one pay-up pitcher. Tariq Skubal is $11,500. The next most expensive pitcher is Brian Bayo at $8,500. That is a $3,000 gap between Skubal and everybody else. And that's not the only place that you're getting a pretty big gap. Top 2 pitcher odds, 46% for Skubal, 21% for Chris Bassett. That's the second highest mark. You can add Bassett and Tanner Babee together and still not get to Skubal. Oh yeah, good shout out for Josh Hartnett. If this was what military movie was it? It wasn't Saving Private Ryan. What was the other one? Behind Enemy Lines? No. I don't know. I remember him from 40 Days, 40 Nights. So obviously, Skubal is just breaking free. Pearl Harbor. There you go. I knew it was something like that. I cried in the movie theater with my girlfriend. Was he in Black Hawk Down? Okay. Yeah. I saw Pearl Harbor at a mall movie theater with my girlfriend when it came out. And when the stuttery nerd guy died and like the nurse got to his like casket flag joint and she started breaking down, I was bawling in the movie theater. I think I was probably 17. Oh, no wonder she broke up with me. Mario, that's a great question. Is ownership the tools percentage or the pools percentage? Ownership here is the tools percentage, which is essentially the driver of the pools percentage. If you manipulate the pool, then those will move a little bit. But like if you run a sim for Tariq Skubal, the goal is 60, but you're probably going to see it come in like, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62. Steven, I don't know if she dropped me because I cried at a movie, but she definitely dropped me. Whatever. Shout out to my wife. Let's break down Skubal ever so briefly. This doesn't strike me as something we need to spend a ton of time on. 29% K rate to lefties, 33% K rate to righties. Does give up a little bit more power to righties. It's still good. Ex-Woba, sub 275 to Bolt. Like he's one of the best pitchers on the planet. You could make a real case he's the best pitcher on the planet. That said, let's take a look at one simple thing. We've got team splits here. I'm just going to pull it up for lefties. We got it on active roster. Cleveland, 28th in WRC plus against lefties. 135 ISO is the 5th lowest mark. 11th in strikeout rate. They don't walk. Everything is on Tariq Skubal's side today. So let's at least take a look at the betting market to see if we can glean anything, because I know we've got some questions around him based off of his last start. Strikeout prop today for Tariq Skubal, 7.5. That's pretty hardy, considering everybody else is like 4.5. This is the one that matters, though. Tariq Skubal outs prop, 17.5. The best line you can find is minus 190 to the over. The true odds that we have for Skubal, minus 188 to the over at over 17.5. If there's any expectation that he's hurt or limited, it's not in the betting market at all. He's getting clobbered for over 17.5 outs, almost to the point that you're expecting 19. So I have nothing to add here. Skubal, I ran sims earlier. We'll run them again for sure, but Skubal came out miles ahead of everybody else. He ended up in like 75% of the top 150 lineups. The stuff is there. The props are there. I don't think there's anything that we could legitimately care about here. Did the last start go well? No. Is that going to happen? Yes. It was a 29 game score, coming off of an 81, a 73, and another 81 in 3 out of his last 4 starts. He's gone less than 5 innings twice. Once in his most recent start, once on August 8th in a matchup where you would have expected him to crush, and he still got 6 Ks in 4 2/3. I don't think we have to worry about anything for Skubal. If it's a problem, it's a problem. If he had someone even comparable to him today on today's slate, it would be different. It's just not. It's just not. So I have no issue whatsoever getting to Skubal. I don't think there's anything else we can say at this point that makes it more interesting. Zach actually just hit us with a super chat, Bassett or Sandy for cash. So obviously Skubal's just in. There's no discussion point there. Bassett's coming in at 20% owned. JT Jin coming in at 20% owned. Sandy Alcantara coming in at 20% owned. My guess is that Ginn is the second option here and the most likely cash option. We have him a bit higher in top 2 percentage, similar salary, similar ownership, but not in cores, which I think is like a pretty big factor here. And because of the way salary works today, and because of the reason you're getting to Skubal at 11.5, I don't see as much utility in getting to Bassett. Like, if Bassett's 21% top 2 and Ginn is 18 and they've got the same ownership, I'm probably just going to save here. Although the interesting factor for all of this is Miami is the runaway top stack once again. There's at least a little bit of positive correlation to taking Sandy, knowing we're going to get at least 4, if not 5 Marlins. Let's just look at it quick. Let me log into the Sims. I'm just going to take the optimal out of the single lineup simulator to see what shows up. But my guess is that it ends up being Skubal and Ginn with 5 Marlins. Okay, so it's Skubal, Sandy, Ramirez, Johnson, Pauly, Lopez, Marcy, 5-man Miami, 3-man Boston, Skubal and Sandy. I think you can go any direction there. In cash, though, obviously, if Miami's cash lineup is going well, then Sandy is probably going well. but I think you can go any real direction that way. Is J-Ram a safe play based on his history against Skubal, or is the whole lineup in a void? His history against Skubal is irrelevant. Let's just put that out there right now. It's not that the whole lineup's in a void, because it's a 6-game slate. Like, anything can happen. 15% of the time, Skubal's going to get blasted here. So in baseball, no one is ever a no, full stop. Maybe like the opposite side of this, like some jerk off 5K pitcher is just a no more often than not. But like batters, there's never a no. Everybody gives up something to everybody at some point in time during the year. Now I need to know this. Jose Ramirez. I think I can do this. Splits tool. Can I do individual matchups? No, it's a baseball reference thing, isn't it? Not that I wanted to look at it anyway. All right, Waylon Jennings. Dumb tangent. You were reviewing the outs prop for Skubal. Would the over 17.5 make a good pick'em play based on those numbers you were throwing out? I mean, if you're getting 17.5 at even money on a pick'em site, then yeah. Like, Waylon, what's your example? Like, what site and what line? Like, if you're telling me you're on Prize Picks or something and it's 17.5 either side, then yeah, the over is an exceptional play. All right, let's figure out what else we're doing at pitching here. Now, I can tell you from a Sims perspective, after Skubal, the next two highest guys that are coming out of the Sims are Ginn and Alcantara. So I think those are the two guys we need to look at. Let's just start on the Ginn side. So for Ginn, I feel like we just talked about him, but I guess that's kind of everybody. These dudes play once a week. Massive strikeout stuff against righties, and they don't touch him. 32% K rate. 140 X ISO. Yeah, Waylon, I would take that for sure. Yeah, 10 for 31 is an insignificant sample. It might as well be 0. Never look at an individual player matchup. 31 plate appearances is nothing. That's a week. That's a week of play. Just throw that in the garbage. So the righty stuff is fantastic. It's not a great spot for any righties on Boston. It is, however, a great spot for lefties in Boston. 217 X ISO allowed for Ginn this season. His strikeout rate is 12.5% lower than it is against righties. He's given up, I don't even know how this is possible, a 454 real WOBA and a 376 X WOBA. Chunk the deuce. That is, I hope you're trolling. I really do. If you're not, I don't have the energy to deal with it today. So we want to look at lefties from Boston if we want to do anything. Duran won't be helpful. Yoshida, Lowe, Hamilton. This would have been a really nice spot for Rafael Devers. There's not that much lefty to be scared about here. So I'm a little curious. How has Boston been against righties? Did I scroll right by it? You'd think something I do every day would happen a little bit more efficiently, but it doesn't. Boston against righties, active roster, 99 WRC plus, 170 ISOs, probably a little bit north of the middle. Nope, 14th. Nothing interesting in the Ks, although I guess relatively it's 8th, but everything in the middle is the same. They don't walk, which is interesting. Third lowest walk rate against righties. That's a little interesting, right? Decent enough command. Ultimately, I think this is a pretty good spot for Ginn. Especially at the price tag that he's sitting at. 6,500. He's just better than that. The splits are real, but I don't think he's running into a situation where the splits are problematic for him. The 5.2 run implied total is not great. Steven, completely agree there. 60. You need so little from him at 6,500. Let's take a look at his props. Outs prop today, 14.5 with some juice to the over. Basically, you're expecting 5 innings out of him. The earned run prop's not going to look great. We know the implied total. Strikeout prop is 4.5. That's really not that bad for a 5-inning guy. As of right now, he's my number 2, but we got to look at Sandy first. Although I'm going to have a hard time assuming he's going to look better than Ginn does. So let's just look at the Sandy props first, and then we'll circle back. 18.5 outs prop, juice to the under, but like we're talking about 6 innings. This we know. This is a guy that goes deep into games. Strikeout prop though, 5.5 heavy juice to the under. Basically a half strikeout ahead of Ginn. But infinitely worse matchup from a park perspective. Now, Alcantara is not the same guy that he had been in like 21 and 22. But still this year, 190 X ISO to lefties. The X WOBA is 348. Those are bad, but not awful. Swinging strike stuff is not great, but when you're playing a guy at 6K or whatever, it's not like we're looking to him for 15 Ks today. Righties aren't touching him. 160 X ISO, 330 X WOBA. That's average. Strikeout rate seems fine. The park is the problematic part here. It plays up runs in a big way. Not the homer park you're worried about. And obviously, we looked at it a bit yesterday. No different today. The active roster for Colorado has been significantly better than they had been earlier. Actually, no, that's wrong. Lefties, they've been good. Righties, they still suck. 79 WRC plus to the active roster. I forgot they had a lefty yesterday. So they're the worst WRC plus team against righties. They have the second highest K rate and the lowest walk rate. So they don't walk. They do strike out. They don't really hit for power. They don't really hit at all. All of that seems really good. Oh, that's an interesting one. Alcantara was truly awful the first half of the year. Been a lot better for the second half. Let's take a look at his rolling charts. We'll see how that looks. But ultimately, I like both of these paydowns more than they're owned, which is great because they're coming up more than they're owned in the Sims. All right, let's look at pitch velocity graphs for this season. Actually, let's look at player graphs. That's going to be easier. $20.25. We'll do a rolling 5-game average. We'll pull ERA. We'll add XFIP and K rate. So you can see right away in that blue line, it was not going great early, as Waylon mentioned. And now, last 5 games, he's been back to neutral. League average is this blue dotted line. So he's been essentially average for like half of the season and significantly better recently. We've also seen the strikeout rate creep up at the exact same time that the XFIP is coming back down. I wonder if the velocity changed. Was he hurt at all? Now that right there is interesting. The fastball velocity from 97.5 up to in and around 98.5 coincides with his increase. Like, he might have just been a little off. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to get that 30-year-old arm loosened up. But as I see it right now, Scooble's easy. Any one of Ginn or Alcantara, pair with him perfectly, and you're really not spending all that much once you get those guys together. It ends up, if you have Ginn and Scooble, that's 9K. That's 2 9Ks instead of 11.5 and 6.5. Alcantara slightly better than that. But I think that 20% ownership on both of those guys is reasonable. I also think it's very reasonable to get to the opposite side of this, whether it's also stacking Boston or also stacking Colorado, which we'll get to in a second. I'm going to run a sim so I can show you guys what's actually showing up here. But when I ran this morning, I was getting like 75% Scooble and like 35 to 40 of those paydowns. Aaron, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. I don't know what you mean by pay for a free trial through the site. All right, let's see what this sim looks like. Is that similar for FanDuel? I'm going to assume I'm not paying very much attention to Alcantara or Ginn on FanDuel. Once this sim is done, I'll pull up the top pitchers tool and take a look, Jake. All right, sims are in. If I take the top 150, you'll be able to see what we're looking at from a pitching perspective. Okay, so it did bring Ginn down now. Let me make that bigger so you guys can see it. There we go. 71% exposure to Scooble in our top 150 lineups. 66% to Sandy Alcantara. And then 7% to Ginn. Now, I wouldn't want this to be the case. I don't need to double up on Sandy and be under on Ginn. What I would want to do here using the sims would be like a negative 10% boost to Sandy Alcantara and then like a plus 10 to Ginn. Let's see if that pulls that value up in a different way. Brings Sandy to 40. Brings Ginn to 14. I can probably give Ginn 5% more. That'll probably get him in and around 20 and flatten this out a bit. I think that pulled Bassett up quite a bit. So I guess we'll look at him. Scooble, Alcantara, Ginn now to 21, Bassett at 29. I'm going to take a quick peek at Bassett before we get to the stacks. But first, just from a pitching perspective on FanDuel, hold up. Is FanDuel's early different? Okay, there we go. It's just on FanDuel early. They just have a different slate layout. So Scooble's 46% owned on FanDuel. Basically, half of the lineups are going to have a 10-7 Scooble. I actually do think Alcantara is a bit more manageable here. Second high, or third, sorry. I mean, essentially tied for the second best top pitcher odds with Bassett, Babi, Baz, and Bayo. Only 10% owned. I think Alcantara is fine on FanDuel. Risky, though. That's for sure. But he grades out pretty well, and I'd argue Scooble's probably a bit overowned on the FanDuel end. I got to look at Bassett, though, quickly, just for the way that he's showing up. So, taking on Tampa. There we go. Much better. You know, better against righties than he is against lefties. Lefties are touching him, but nothing crazy. The swinging strike stuff's still there against righties. If we take a peek at Tampa's active roster, there we go. Tampa, 10th in WRC plus, 174 ISO is going to be 11th. Strikeout rate, 24th. They don't walk, though. Second lowest behind Colorado. I don't know. I mean, he's fun. I think he's fine. I think he's perfectly set up to be in the middle of the pack. Am I stupid? Where the hell are the Rays? Because it's not. There we go. That makes sense. So Steinbrenner Field, just to hit everybody with it quickly, 116 park factor for homers this year, 104 for runs. It's a massive righty power spot and not much of a lefty power spot. Dead neutral to lefties. That's appealing because lefties are the problem spot for Bassett. I think righties are going to have a real tough time. The problem is there's a lot of lefties for Tampa. I'm happy to be neutral on Bassett. I don't have a take either direction. If he's going to be 22% owned, I'm happy to be anywhere in that like 10 to 30 range. I know that's big, but I'd let the rest of it dictate. So now we got to do stacks, and we have the same problem today that we did yesterday. Oh, by the way, you guys got to check out Tails. So we're putting out more and more content on Tails for free, no less. So if you head to oddshopper.com, you go to the Tails Expert Picks feed, you can get free picks and free information all day. As you can see, Greg took under 17 and a half outs on Chris Bassett. Took our boy Ginn under 4.5 Ks. He's got a couple other plays in here. Lofty dropped a same game parlay for NFL tonight. We've got people outside of our ecosystem from a DFS side also on here. Tons that you could follow. I also dropped a very quick top stacks earlier today and top pitchers. Put them both out on Twitter. They're here. Sim results, top stacks, top pitchers tool. Wrote it up very quickly. You guys can check this out. I'm going to be putting this stuff up there every single day. So if you can't catch the show, you can at least get a little bit of a breakdown here as well. And come Sunday, I'm going to start dropping daily team previews for the NBA leading up to the first day of the regular season. I'm going to have NBA content on here every day, totally free. So if you're looking for it, click on me. It's very simple. Click on my profile. You're not going to see the same thing, but there'll be a follow button here. Just click it. Follow along. So, top stacks. We're doing the same thing we did yesterday, and it is a really, really problematic Miami Marlins team in cores. 6.3 run team total. That is 1.2 runs higher than anybody else on the slate. 22% top stack odds. Double Seattle. And here's the kicker. Not only are they the top stack, far and away. They are also the top value team again. 18.5% chance of being the top value. These guys are in the best spot, in a good matchup, with a good run total, and their DFS salaries do not represent their skill set for today. Stack score of 21 is double anybody else on the slate. You get to Boston after that, which is a very interesting leverage option. Then you get to Seattle, the A's, Colorado for more leverage. So we're in this little section right here. Is there anything that you guys see for Miami that doesn't want you to at least have a decent chunk of them? Because they're clearly the best lineup filler. You're playing 5 of those dudes in cash. Tanner Gordon sucks. 20% K rate to lefties, 17 to righties, 240 X ISO to lefties, 176 to righties, terrible swinging strike rate, terrible X WOBA. Everything's on Miami's side. I don't know what else I could possibly do here. The bottom half of this lineup is freebies for where we are. And if you want to try to get, like even a $5,400 Marcy is not that expensive. So when it comes to Miami, you're just going to have them. Maybe you don't want as many 5-mans, but they're absolutely going to be filling in one-offs, 2-mans, 3-mans, whatever. There's not a negative thing here for Miami other than their popularity. The question becomes, who's the second best option? Because we all know that we're going to get to Miami. Where do we want to go besides that? And I think the ownership is telling an interesting story. Boston is the team that's pulling away. They have the 3rd highest top stack odds and the 2nd highest value score. So they're basically just a lesser version of Miami. They obviously don't have the same park. They're in Boston. They're not in Colorado. Hell, they're not even in the A's park. The run total is significantly lower. However, there's at least a little bit of appeal because Gin's ownership is what it is. Now, I do want to point this out. On our last run, Gin's ownership down to 11%. That was a bit higher. Sandy's now at 30. That gap alone makes it interesting to me about how you deal with the pitchers. It also makes it interesting in the way that you deal with the hitters. Because if you take Colorado today, we're talking about a 9% ownership share on the Rockies and 30% ownership going to Sandy Alcantara. Just having the Rockies alone with some success, you are immediately cutting 30% of the pool, full stop, out of the contest. When it was 20 and 20 earlier, I felt like we could do the same thing for JT Ginn, but you can, and you still can to a degree for 11%, but it's not the same gap that we were looking at before. Now, we kind of touched on Boston earlier in that we know who we need. We want as little righties against Ginn as possible. Let me pull up the top batters tool. So, like, obviously Duran looks really good here. $3,100 Yoshida is a really nice positive value option. Thank you, Steven. You got there just before I did. And then Nate Lowe, 4K, first baseman. Just out of curiosity. We look at Boston. Duran, Lowe, Yoshida. Oh, okay. This is where it gets a little gross. The ownership on Bregman is low enough that I'll see what it looks like. What happens if I take Story as well? What completes this? Scooble, Sandy, Ramirez, Lawrence Butler, Michael Massey. Yeah, well, I hope this grades out well. $30.2, not bad. 30% sim ROI, 0.2% chance to win, 33% cash rate. So we can get to something pretty decent here for Boston. We're not really giving it up anywhere else here. I like the appeal of Boston. Other than the fact that when it comes to righties, you're in trouble. So what does Colorado look like here? Because we know they suck. And that's not fun. They're 2 percentage points in top stack behind Boston. They are behind in value as well, but you're also getting some savings from a ownership perspective. Let me throw this to you guys right now. Would you rather stack Boston against Ginn or Colorado against Sandy Alcantara? This is another spot where you're looking for lefties. So Moniak. Is that it? Is that the only lefty in Colorado's lineup today? Rockies. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. So that's better. That looks a lot better. So you've got, well, that's because I'm on Boston like an idiot. All right, so you've got Moniak and Ritter, and that's it lefty-wise. Not really what you're looking for here. So we got Rockies from Steven, Rockies from Mario, Boston from Leonard. I don't like the lineup Colorado is running out. Caro sucks. Krim sucks. Ritter sucks. I mean, Freeman's not exactly good. Moniak looks great as a one-off. Ritter's a righty? Is he a switch hitter? That's righty. Okay. Give me 1 second here, guys. I want to get this fixed. Just give me 1 sec. That'll get fixed. Braden, thank you for pointing that out. You got to be some sort of psychopath to know that Ryan Ritter is a righty, not a lefty. Are you from Colorado? We're talking about a guy with 180 plate appearances. I mean, appreciate the call out. That's a hell of a pull. I hope you have it just in front of you. As I look at this right now, I don't like the lineup that Colorado. Okay, good. Braden, I appreciate that. I don't like the lineup Colorado's running out here against Sandy. I liked them more earlier than I do now. I would lean more towards Boston than I would Colorado. That's one I probably don't want. So now that we've gotten a couple lineups in, I'm going to re-sim and see who the stacks are that are showing up. One last time, guys, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Reminder, lock is at 1 o'clock on DraftKings today. So once we finish this show up in the next 10 minutes or so, you're going to have about an hour to get that in. You want me to look at Toronto Einsteinium? I could take a peek once this sim ends. I'll be honest, it's not a team that I remember seeing show up in anything I've done so far today. Let's swap out Zins. Get a little bit of an extra boosty boost. And Eric and I will be back for MLB Live Before Lock later tonight. I know it's a football day, but we still have a 4-gamer later tonight. Andrew, I don't think so. I just meant we had updates since I started the show, Andrew. All right, let me clear those boosts that I had in earlier. Take that top 150. From a stack perspective, I think Toronto's the lowest owned team we have. Yeah. So in terms of actual exposure, I have less than 1% of Toronto in Stadium. So that's there. It's Boston pulling away by a mile. Like it. Miami in a lot of our stuff. Like it. Probably more Colorado than I want at 9%, but close enough. But it's all Boston, mostly Miami, and a little bit of Kansas City. If we take a look at Toronto for Einsteinium, good spot for righties, less so for lefties. Shane Baz ends lefties, 28.5% K rate, no power, no WOBA. Righties are touching them up, 200x ISO. X WOBA starting to creep a bit as well. Springer looks good. Vlad looks good. Schneider looks good. You know, you're never mad about Varsho or Barger. I'd say I like them a little bit more than it implies, but we are talking about the team with the third lowest top stack odds. They're not cheap. Now, they're not owned. What's the best Toronto stack we got? Toronto, Boston, 4-3 with Scooble Alcantara. Can't say I hate it, but there's not a lot at the top for Toronto. They don't seem to be a very easy team to get to. Springer, Vlad, Schneider, Barger in at third. I don't want all of them. I'm going to take Ernie Clement here just to finish it. If I pop him in at second, we get Scooble, Sandy, Wong, Lopez, Yoshida. So 2-man Boston. Let's see how this one looks. Andrew, I'll hit the A's on this one now. Well, that ain't it. I think Toronto's really tough to get to. Let me take a look at the A's. You said Kurtz, Geloff, Rooker, Butler, Blade. I hate getting all three outfielders. We just take the true optimal here. We get to 100 projection, which is much higher than what we had before. We fill out with Wong, Paulie, and Bobby Witt. It's a lot of ownership, but I think this is going to be the best one we've built. Yeah, 41% sim ROI on that A's stack, 0.2% chance to win, 29% chance to cash. Let me look at the A's quickly. Hard to want to attack Bayo. He just doesn't give up any real power. I guess you want to target lefties. We've got... How can I get Soderstrom in that lineup in place of someone else? Can I get Soderstrom? I can't get Soderstrom at all because of... Oh, let's do that. If I swap out... Let's take out Witt, Paulie, Scooble, Alcantara, Wong. Rooker, Butler, Blade. Just out of curiosity, if I pull Rooker for Soderstrom, does that change anything? Paulie, Witt, Wong leaves 1,000 on the table. Ownership is the same. Projection came down. Yeah, that makes sense. I want something different for Oakland there. I want to leave one of those outfield spots open. I guess the easiest way to do that is to pull Soderstrom and go to Langoliers. Wait, is he not catching? Oh, it's McIver. Yikes. That'll leave a lot of salary. Scooble, Sandy, 3-man Miami. I added like 20% of ownership. That's rough. Yeah, 23. So much value with KC and Miami one-offs that Mets and Scooble is easy. Randy Vasquez does give up some power. Mets are middle of the pack in stack score. Not exactly cheap. Probably getting too much ownership. Let's see it. This will be the last one we build. We're going to take a look at the Mets. So, obviously we want to target lefties first. So let's get Soto, Nimmo, McNeil, and Beatty. Soto, Nimmo, McNeil, Brett Beatty, and then let's go Lindor. Scooble, Sandy, Wong, Johnston, Yoshida. Obviously, we're Yoshida fans today. This is just going to look like every other one. 99 projection, 170 ownership. There's a path, but it's going to take a little bit more manual manipulation. I wonder... It's probably just going to be too much salary if I don't use Scooble. I assume I have way too much money left over for this. Okay. Ramirez, Johnston, Marcy, 128. Only 300 left over. We cut ownership by 30, but we lost 3 points of projection. This will be an interesting balance. Yeah, 14. Honestly, I feel like this is a spot where you actually can get to that like Bassett section. Bassett, Sandy, 2-man Miami, Lawrence, Butler takes the projection up a little higher, keeps the minimal ownership. This is the final one, guys. 6%, not great. Not great. Tough slate, though, guys. Tough slate. Ultimately, subbing it up, Miami is obviously awesome. Boston and Colorado do look a little interesting because of the leverage propositions. And I think there's something to be said for Toronto, for the Mets, for Seattle or KC. Seattle probably a little bit more so. And then for pitching, Scooble, and then grab the value in Sandy, grab the value in JT Ginn. It's there for you guys. Thank you for being here. We're not done this week. I'll be back again tomorrow. Real slate, breaking down the main. Should have a ton of games, tons of NFL content out there. And check out the NFL Perfect lineup that will be out in the next 2 hours or so. That'll be there for Thursday night football. Good luck, everybody. Love having you guys. I'll talk to you later.